So I gave the example of Buddha and the times of Buddha, and another good example is Christianity. Christianity was found during times of extreme difficulty, and as a matter of fact, one of the reasons it spread so much is because it gave people hope when times were so difficult. When people were suffering, Jesus came and basically it showed people a way of how to be happy during these times and how to actually be able to cope with the situations. So, jokingly, I tell people that the religions, the big traditions actually that we know of today that became, popular throughout history, became popular because they were extremely good painkillers. They allowed a individual to be able to cope with their suffering and be able to cope with the times and be able to find happiness or seek happiness. And so just from these examples, we can see that when things couldn't be met externally, that you could actually find ways to have these met internally. And some of the teachings that we have today are actually from those times. And that's why oftentimes when people are going through really extreme difficulties, oftentimes you see people who have these religious breakthroughs, or I forget what you call that, but they have these religious awakenings, uh, where all of a sudden they find Jesus, or they find peaceful meditation, and they're going through really difficult times, and they're going through this experience, and all of a sudden they find something that allows them to be able to find acceptance uh, through what they're going through. And so this is a great example of acceptance, of how someone can, when they realize that things can't get any better and they're doing the best they can, then when and there can't be something done better externally, where they go inside and then they find and they meet their needs internally. And so this concept is a really key concept, and I feel like it really helps us actually live life uh, in the best way possible, starting today, like immediately, because once you start finding movement on the inside, and you start having your needs met on the inside, then ironically you start finding movements on the outside. And that's actually what started happening with a lot of these people. And actually, it's kind of interesting to me. This is kind of like a meta-analysis, but Buddhism became popularized over time, and Christianity became popularized over time. And the way it became popularized was because people kept building on it. Like a good example is that in Christianity, people started actually living in clumps. During that time, taxation was at 90%. People were losing the land that they were living on that had been basically passed on from ancestor to ancestors. And the taxation was so high they couldn't pay the taxes, so they were starting to lose their lands. People didn't have enough to bring back home to their families. And so what started happening is that these people started living together in clumps, where they shared whatever they had, that little bit, and they actually brought everything into the community. And so as a community, they were more abundant, where what one person had, someone else had, and what someone else needed, someone else had. And because it was all communally shared, actually there was more to go around, ironically. But the other thing that was really powerful about this model was, if no one had it, then everyone didn't have it. So there was not this comparison going on where, oh, that person has it, but I don't, oh, I'm miserable. Everyone suffered together, and everyone had together, and everyone shared together, and there was this hope and rejoicing that came from that. And that's one of the reasons why Christianity spread even through persecution. This is one thing that most people may not realize, that because Christianity has become one of the more popular religions today. But one of the things that people may not realize about Christianity was that when Christianity was first found, it was really unpopular, is probably an easy way to say it, because the people back then, religion was kind of your ethnic truth. So for the Jews, Judaism was their truth, and anyone who left that would be betraying the God of Judaism, which is the same God as the Christian God, or actually which is supposed to be the God for the source of all things. Just for clarification, in case someone is watching this who is either Christian or a Jew who might feel misunderstood. So I want to understand. I understand the concept, and then back then there was also the Greeks who believed in their God, and then there were the Romans who believed in their God. And so those are like the three big cultures. And then of course there were what we today call the pagans, which was uh, the what we would probably call the Wiccans, and the Germanic tribes, if you will. And so I forget what those were called right now. But anyway, so there was all these different religions, and whoever became a Christian would be betraying their cultural norm. And so it wasn't uncommon for people to feel extremely betrayed by these people who became Christians, who didn't really actually belong to any one of these groups. And if there was a famine, people would come after saying that God is punishing them because this particular individual who became a Christian, what's the word for it, left and betrayed their God, and so that God was punishing them, right? And that's an easy thing to believe during those times. I mean, that was such a long time ago. I guess if I think about it, it's still happening today, but that's a different issue. So, anyways, so from this perspective, you know, uh, these people who found their faith and started living together, these were probably, they must have been really desperate. They must have been really desperate to leave their tribe. They're probably outcasts or doing so terribly that they were looking for some hope. And then here's someone who's saying, here's a group of people saying, hey, there's hope. And if you're desperate enough and it seems like that's the only way, then you join that group. And it was a risky business. So this is the reason why the Christian group was being persecuted so much. And so if you're having this kind of lifestyle, and you're actually happy, and if you look at the writings of these people were happy. They were happy that they found a group of people that was beyond these circumstances where they were sharing. But it was really difficult to be in this group. And this group spread even though it was so difficult. And the reason was because, it it was a way for someone to survive during these harsh times, and it was something that would help you cope. And so it became more and more popular. Same thing with Buddhism. Buddhism actually was found during times when there were, like, if I remember, four different major religious Hindu religious groups, and it's from the yogic traditions. And times were really hard, and these people, you could really see that they were really searching for better pain management systems. And the reason, and as I say, the pain management as in terms of how to cope with pain and how to be able to live your life beyond that, something that's effective for pain, right? And so I just kind of explained Christianity from their perspective. And so same thing, with when Buddhism was found, there were these groups, this yogic groups, and back in those days, people would practice and meditate to try and get to a point where you were just beyond your physical body, because that was what was causing pain. And they would bury themselves under the ground and to their neck, and they'd be left there for like a week, or sometimes actually weeks. And they would try and meditate. And if you're buried to your neck, it dehydrates you, and the sun is bearing down on you, and vultures can come and peck at you. I mean, it is really a death wish, if you will. And one of the highest ideals were for someone to die during their practice. You can see how harsh the times were when they're trying to create situations that are even harsher than what you're going through, where you're trying to get yourself to be acclimated than what is going through, so that you can have peace beyond that.